Welcome to the WebWell podcast, brought to you by Cascade Web Development. I'm one of your hosts, Simon, along with Ben, and we can't wait to dive into all things internet, tech, web development, and web design. We'll also be discussing how we balance work and life and exploring the fascinating world of internet innovation. So whether you're a tech enthusiast or just looking for some entertainment, join us on this exciting journey as we explore the ever-changing landscape of the web. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. All right, everyone, welcome to the WebWell podcast, episode 9. I am excited for today's episode and just a glimpse into behind the scenes with Cascade, the heart and soul, if you will, of Cascade. But I'm going to hand it off to Ben to introduce today's special guest. Ben.
Thank you, Simon. Yes, episode number 9. It is my distinguished honor to invite Christi McKinley. Many things to me. She is not only controller of Cascade Web Development. We're celebrating 23 years of being married later this week. Mother of 2 amazing daughters, and constantly on the go, whether that's pursuing her own interests with running, nutrition. She's just incredible. I feel guilty most of the time because I find myself wanting to sit down and watch TV or relax, and she's a million things to do all the time. So without further ado, Christi McKinley, welcome to the podcast.
Well, hello. Thank you. That's quite the description there. I'm a busybody.
That's a lot to live up to, yeah, for sure. But that is Mondays at the Cascade. I was going to say the Cascade house, the McKinley house. Mondays, the morning meeting. What did the McKinleys do this weekend, right? And if it's not hiking, or skiing, it's running, right? So
yes, that's right. Literally, and figuratively.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Christy, to this episode. It's really all about you, as it should be. So. But yeah, if we can kick it off, tell us a little about yourself, both career as well as, where you're from and how you met this handsome fella next to you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's see. I've been in Oregon my whole life. I was born in Eugene. And my dad, he worked for State Farm Insurance. He was a lifer there, and he was up and down Oregon, basically. So we went from Eugene to Roseburg, and then ultimately ended up in Jacksonville, which is right outside of Medford, when I was 10. So elementary school, I wrapped up in Jacksonville, and then went on to South Medford High School for high school. And that's where I met Ben. We met, I think, the summer before our freshman year of high school. Yep. Our friends both had cabins up at Lake of the Woods, just outside of town. And so I think I was actually 13 when we met. Ben was 14. Yeah. And so anyway, that's how we met. And so we had same friend groups, same graduating class, la-di-da, then went off. And I always wanted to be a teacher. So I've always loved kids, spent a lot of time babysitting. Actually, I tutored kids even when I was in middle school. And so I got my degree in early childhood education. And then after college, took a little over a year off. I was a nanny for a family up in Lake Oswego, and then went back and got my master's at University of Portland in education. So I have my master's in early childhood development and education. Then I taught. I was a teacher out in Canby. I worked with great people, great kids. I loved all that, but the politics were a bit much. And it was also just a lot. It's hard. You only can do so much. I wanted to, I think the best way to describe it is I wanted to save the children more than help the children. So it was like, I want to bring them all home. And
yeah, she found herself driving in the car full of kids through rough neighborhoods, dropping them off after school and getting cat calls and rough neighborhoods. And heart was in the right spot, but it wore on her, and she found herself exposing herself to some unnecessary risk.
And Ben started in this industry in, was it 2000 or 99?
98.
98.
Yeah, right out of college.
And so I taught from 2000 to 2005. And so, I brought home the big bucks to support this this dream
Enterprise.
this enterprise, right? And basically what happened is my fifth year, after completing my fifth year of teaching, then the business was doing well. We were doing well, making money. He was looking to hire people. He needed someone to help with administrative tasks. And I am known for being organized. I'm known for getting shit done, for lack of better terms. And so he said, well, maybe you should work with me. And it would have cost him more probably to hire someone than I was making as a teacher. So anyway, needless to say, I decided to go that route and came on with Cascade. It was at 05 or 06? 05.
05.
In 05. So June of 05.
And if I might jump in, she absolutely was the foundation for launching Cascade, and we were doing quite well as compared to the $13,000 that we made in the first 8 months of our existence in '98, but not doing great by modern standards. But yeah, no, in leading up to her deciding to come on board, essentially every Christmas break and spring break and summer break, she'd come in and like put the pieces back together, because administratively I would let things get a little bit loose. So she knew the business, she was familiar with it. We were reliant upon her. And as I joke about even to this day, like, you're not replaceable, because you'd be peppering me with all the questions that I would be paying someone else to do the job. So then I'm essentially talking to two people about that. So no, but it's been a pretty fantastic partnership for going on, well, just over 18 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at that point, how many employees did Cascade have?
Geez.
Gosh, well, there was Fritz.
No, it was Stefan.
Yeah. No, Fritz had just started in May of 2005.
Okay, so I think there were 4 of us total, right?
5.
Okay, yeah, 5.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, Paul, Stefan, Ben, Christy, Fritz. Yep, 5. And interns. We were intern heavy in those days.
And we had contractors. So yeah, we kind of filled in the pieces that way too. But yeah, so I guess I was always involved. Well, and then right when I came on full time with Cascade, we found out I was pregnant. So then, which is great, because, get to kind of do the work mom thing, balance that out, which was good. So I've been able to not miss anything with the kids. It's not without a struggle, but I'm able to get the job done and take care of our kids and all of that. So that's kind of how I ended up here. That's it.
Well, I don't want to skip ahead to talking about the balance, like you were about to allude to about, kids and balancing work. But roles wise, officially controller, what other hats have you worn with Cascade and just supporting Ben along the way? And I do want to add this, because for any listener that's listening, there's no such thing as like owner and then spouse. They're owners, right? Like, you guys are sitting at dinner and talking about running a business, right? Like, it's not Ben and then Christy here. It's you guys together. So if you could talk just a little about kind of the roles that you've had to play in I'll say it, supporting Ben, but also supporting Cascade, right? In your role, what does that look like?
Well, I do. We're a small business, as you know, so I wear lots of hats, whether it's janitor, grocery shopper, all the I do the HR piece, which includes setting up our 401ks, health insurance. I shop that market, and oh man, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to sound like I do a lot, but I don't know what I don't do. I don't sell. But other than that, I do all the collections. I communicate with all clients.
You should do all the invoices.
All the invoices. I keep track of all that. I do all the banking. One of the things that, people ask me, like, oh gosh, isn't that hard to work with your spouse? And so, the best with my personality, the way it is, it's very nice, because I always know exactly what is going on. I know exactly how much money we have, always, like to the dollar. And when I say we, I mean, the business, personal, everything. I know what's in every single account. I don't have to ask a question there. I do ask, how was your day? Because Ben, this little area we're in here, this is where Ben generally works. And I'm mainly in the main house. We work from home. So, so I do ask how the day went at the end of the day. And it's nice because he doesn't have to explain a lot. Because I generally know personalities of clients and relationships there. And so a
couple grunts, she gets the point.
Yeah. I don't even, sometimes he just needs to say the name of a client and I know how it went. So, anyway, yeah, I don't know where the job starts and stops, Simon. I don't know. That's a hard question.
And for all the listeners too, like, truth be told, Ben and I talked about having this topic yesterday. So it was a late call. We're like, you know what, this would be a killer topic. I don't know how long this will go. It could go 30 minutes or our normal, like 50 minutes. Right. But that specific topic right there, where you said, I don't know where it starts and finishes or stops within a day, is probably like, Ben and I just spitball, like, oh my goodness, that is worthwhile. So any listener that's out there that's talking about like working with their partner, living with their partner, and this other key dynamic is, for a lot of years, you guys had the railroad car. You had an office, a separate location to call work, the office, right? Which would probably, I imagine, and I brought it up to Ben, and I'd love to hear your side of this, but like, would help at least allow you to separate work and home life, right? Yes, the conversation comes home, but like physical space is different. In your scenario, in like my scenario, this is my home office. Out these two doors is my entry and then kitchen. Like, there's not much separating my home life and work life. You two, like the idea of like, oh, you brought it home. No, you just like walked from one room to the other and you brought it home. How talk about that with Ben, in his role, operation, really steering the ship, and you alongside of that, seeing all of it, right? Transparency wise, like you just said, money and everything. How can you manage that? How is that managed for you?
Oh man, not well. I mean, I I won't lie. I'm a horrible liar. So I'm just going to say not well. I mean, I try. And I think as we get older, I try to compartmentalize things and, compartmentalize. Yes. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. It's after 6 o'clock. Or, what have you.
She'll wait till I'm brushing my teeth at 10 to get the heart rate spike right before I go to bed. That's preferred.
I do that. I own it. It's just like, or even laying in bed, be like, oh, hey, crap, we have that meeting tomorrow morning at 8. Are we going together? Are we what? And then,
More grunts.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the separation piece is definitely not great. But it was when we had the train cars, it was better. And it's especially for Ben. And when the kids were little, it was basically 100% necessary, because otherwise, they're running around, they're loud. We didn't have this little space. We didn't come up with this until during, COVID. Because with the offices shutting down and everything, after having had that space, was like, I need to have a space. So this has been good for him. But yeah, I'm old school. I keep a paper planner.
What?
And so what I do in here, and yeah, I know, it's like, isn't it cool? It's like, it's from the museum. And I literally will write in there like 1 to 3. Yeah, I swear. I write down like 1 to 3, in my office, because I have a room in the house. And so 1 to 3, I'll stay in my office, whether I'm filing papers, recycling papers, looking through folders. That's kind of how I block my time. And then I'll also do just blocks of time, like 10 to 12, where it's like, okay, home stuff. And that means, laundry, kids, groceries, and that's all written in my paper calendar. So that means it happens. And then I get to put a check mark next to it after I do it.
Yeah. And what I would say is that, obviously it's not it's not super easy at times, but there's few things cooler than, when because we've toiled through so much, like, are we going to make payroll? Is this client going to pay? Just baseline operational goals, to be at a point now where we've established some cushion, some protection that protects our sanity and our relationship, but to have done that together and not have it be her boss or my boss that are saying this is what you need to do, but us saying, hey, we're gonna sign up for these risks, we're gonna pursue them, we're gonna avoid these risks and all the potential upside that can come with those, but to recognize we did this together, along with the help of so many others, obviously, but to our reality is something we had so much more control over, like the depth and quality of that partnership on top of everything else is something that I absolutely love. But there's certainly, like, living it every day, that can be tough, and compartmentalizing and creating those boundaries. So it's like, we're going to spend a couple days on the coast to celebrate our anniversary. And it's like, how do we just like wall off certain topics and say, not here. Let's just get back to the fun, the fun days when we didn't have all that stuff. And, it takes intention, but it's a pretty special connection that we share.
Yeah, I think with remote life as a whole, I think a lot of people say, okay, it's not for everyone, right? And you as an employer, it's not for everyone. There's some people that aren't built for it. Likewise, co-owning a business together and in a remote scenario, so you're doing it all from home, I imagine is not for everyone. But I imagine that you guys, this sounds really weird. You guys, I just picture you guys at dinner like this week. Happy anniversary, by the way. You guys are sitting down to dinner.
Thank you.
And it's going to come up. Work to some aspect, some level will come up. But I feel like because you've been at it for so long, that conversation is able to be pretty efficient, like pretty short. It's this, Ben said a grunt, like, oh, okay, I got it, right? And then you can move on. I don't know. There's something terribly appealing to that lifestyle to me, for you guys, like not having to, like, Ben, when was the last time you had a tie on? Right? Like,
hard
you
saying.
can't even.
Maybe a wedding.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it was a wedding.
Right. So, I mean, but there's, like you said, there's no boss over one of you. It's you two. I don't know. I feel like that is, for a lot of people, that is the dream. That would be a dream. And a lot of people couldn't see it, So that's pretty cool.
Our kids even say that.
Say, what do they say?
Kids will say that too. They're like, you guys have it good. Our oldest daughter, who's 17, said that to us. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you get to make your own schedule. You get to work when you want, not work when you don't want to. I mean, like, they're seeing it. Yeah. I think which is great, right? It's great. Yeah. So I don't know how an 8 to 5 job would ever fit into their lifestyle, but they'll have to be creative.
You definitely spoiled them. You definitely spoiled them where they're seeing that glimpse. But the key aspect to that is, hey, if you guys want to make more, you want to become more profitable or bring in more revenue, you just work more. Like, just that basic concept. Yes. I feel like I wish I could implant into my 11-year-old a little more. Like, oh, you want that thing? Yeah, let's work a little harder then. I'd love to reward you, but it just means work, right? So that's interesting, because I know that generations above us, my parents, your parents, that idea would be so foreign, And I mentioned this to Ben last week.
Oh yeah.
My parents are living with me right now while they shop for a house as they retired. I was outside and I did our Monday morning call. And when I came in, my dad was like, "Are you serious? That's work for you? That's what you call work?" And I was like, yeah, it's pretty rough, like that I can be in shorts and sit out in the patio and enjoy some morning sun and a coffee and do work. And just like, yes, that's what we can do, Yeah.
And I've got 2 thoughts on that. One, I've certainly experienced that from Christy, where I would when I used to go to some more industry trade shows, like the outdoor industry trade shows, and they're fun. It's work, but it's fun. You're demoing bikes and skis and you're hanging out with fun people and, God forbid you're having some beverages and staying out late, and sometimes you kind of get these looks like, what are we doing here? Did we accomplish anything? Like, what are the metrics of success? And so on the one hand, it's been amazing to be able to pursue the industries that we as an organization really care about. And the other thing is just the beauty of software. This industry is generationally unique, and I'm humbled by the fact that I sort of stumbled into this and have found such an amazing group of folks, on the development and creative side, because I don't have these skills, but our ability to add, create significant value for our clients and replicate it and build upon that over time, and the loyalty of the team, those aren't necessarily things that if I had started a lawn, or maintenance company for people's yards or painting business, that you could have, achieved those things historically, like you said, with our parents and grandparents generation. So really lucky on timing, and certainly, such an incredible team that'll afford us some of the flexibility that we've been able to enjoy.
Yeah. And I think given the industry, it's easier to be a remote business as well.
Yeah.
So that makes it even
and the town, right? Like it's where it's celebrated to be a lifestyle business, working in industries you care about, doing things you care about,
in Oregon,
trying to have an impact, but also being out there and doing the thing. I think there are a lot of places, including when we did the funded startup Brand Live, which we hatched from Cascade and incubated here in 2008 to 2013. I remember talking to one of our funders, and I was telling him about my ski coaching, and he's like, yeah, you got to get rid of that. You got to just quit doing that and work harder.
Yeah.
And I was looking at him going, whoa,
he didn't want the balance,
you're not my people. But that's, he and other people like him were investing huge chunks of money, and they're like, no, I need every second of passion and time and energy you have. And that doesn't resonate with me. So I didn't go down as far that path as I could have, but lucky to live where we do, where there is, appreciation for that. And I think increasingly in general, just people with passion, with purpose, trying to create something outside of work, and support others. That's appreciated more than, again, generationally it would have been.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that balance of outside of work. Christy, we talked about you running. You want to talk a little more about those hobbies?
Yeah.
I don't know if hobby just downplays that, but like your other outside of work passions.
My other obsessions.
There you go.
Obsessions. Well, I started running quite a bit. Well, I ran quite a bit in my 20s, but more so after I even had kids, because it's just easy. You go out your front door and you can run, right?
Or that treadmill I got you for Valentine's Day.
Yes, he did get me a treadmill for Valentine's Day after one of the babies. I know. People are like, whoa, what a jerk. I'm like, nope, that's what I wanted. Because I would run on the treadmill while the kids were in their little bouncers. And I'm, so, I do. I have a neighbor across the street. She says, like, Christy, you have so much energy. Like, I do. And I think that's why I've always got my hands in lots of pots. I've always had more than one kind of job-ish type thing going on, whether I was working with Brand Live. I was their pseudo controller for a number of years while that was getting off the ground. And then obviously with Cascade, I've been here. And then for a number of years, I still was tutoring kids on the side while working for Cascade, and had our own children.
Soccer team mom.
Yeah. Ran HOAs. I've done a lot of different things. But I think as far as extracurricular activities, we, as a family, we ski a ton. So we spend a lot of time on the mountain, and we're up there a lot. And Ben coaches. So obviously we're up there for that. And the kids are on teams, and I ski, and I uphill ski, and downhill ski, and I run. I did like a lot of races for a long time. And I've realized that those, marathons and longer relay races were kind of what I was into, hard on my body. So I'm trying to find a little bit more balance, with lifting weights, running a little less, but I still am pounding the pavement several days a week, which brings me joy.
Good. What, so side hustles, what else do you have going on? We recently built a website for you. So
yeah,
tell us
recently.
a little about that.
Yes, yes, yes. You guys built me a lovely website. Yeah. So again, the kids are getting older. We have two girls that are 17 and 13. And once our older one started driving, it's like, whoa, I have a lot more time. This is crazy. And I've worked with a gentleman for a number of years on our health insurance for our company. And he has been encouraging me to get my insurance license, health insurance license for like, gosh, 5 to 7 years. He's been like, Christy, you need to do this. You always are asking the right questions and you'd be great at it. So in January, I did. I got my license. And so now I am an insurance broker and for health insurance. And I just took my AHIP test, which is the big test you take annually so that you're able to do this job. And then but I'm focusing in on Medicare. So helping seniors find the right health insurance plans. That seems to be a very growing industry. That I think Jim, the gentleman I'm working with, he told me when he first started, I think there were only, like 5 to 7 different options for like Medicare Advantage, supplement, whatever. Yeah. And now it's like, I think we're close to 80 options. So
wow.
It's bizarre. And that's nationwide. I mean, everything's different by your zip code, state, whatever. But I still have to learn about all of them. So it's an interesting industry. I know it sounds kind of dorky, but I've always been really passionate about finding healthcare solutions and benefit plans for our employees and our family to serve our needs. And whether it's alternative care or your general going to the doctor type of plan, there's solutions out there. And I think a lot of people get so frustrated. Oh, this is so expensive and so dumb. And a lot of it is, but I think that there are ways around that. And I think it's going in a positive direction. The options that are available for seniors. So that's what I'm focused in on for now. And open enrollment's not until October. And so I'm still just learning, lots of reading. I have actually was carrying around my little book and getting started with Medicare. So like I said, I'm kind of a dork when it comes to that stuff. So anyway, that's my new little side hustle. So we'll see where that takes us.
Well, that's fun. That it's fun too.
Yeah,
for
this is
listeners
something I can say that. Okay, so I'll step on poor Simon's toes here, and it's really fun to see because as much as I try and ensure everyone on the team feels appreciated and valued for their role within Cascade, it's not surprising that after all that she has done to just kind of prop up and support this business and be that glue, that on some level it's like, well, she's not the one out in front leading it and charging after it. And so to find this passion, this thing that she's excited about and pursue, some purpose beyond what she's done, I think will be a great outlet for that boundless energy, and excited to see where it leads for. But and I think the other thing that's fantastic is that, as an entrepreneur, I've seen plenty of friends whose spouse tries to take that step from either not working or working for someone else to being a small business owner. And it's just fantastic that I don't have the pressure, or that I don't feel really even compelled to try and jump in and be like, oh, let me mansplain that for you. I'm going to break that down. Let me tell you how it's going to be, because she has this amazing champion that encouraged her down this path. So it really feels like it's her thing. And when I'm invited in, it's great. But otherwise, I don't feel compelled or pressured to, try and figure a bunch of this stuff out. I just get to sit back and be a cheerleader and encourage it. So it's been a really cool opportunity for me as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost a role reversal to early career, right? Where it's you now can support her in something that you don't know about, and just be like all ears and listen. A lot of listeners don't realize this too, that Christy and I have this in common. Way before my software career, when I went back to school and got my design degree, I actually was an insurance broker as well. So when Christy brought this up, we were speaking the same language, and it was really fun as I was like, oh yeah, so open enrollment and this and that. Like, so I was very familiar because I had my insurance license as well. I had to pass that same test, sit in that room and put in that time. I mean, I spent hours studying too, because I didn't want to fail it.
Oh,
It cost me money.
It does. Cost you money and so much time. It's like, what? The 2-hour test.
Man.
The good news is now you can take it online. It's proctored. So they're watching you, but you don't have to leave your house. I mean, again, I don't have to leave my house. This is great.
That's awesome. Well, I think for one, Cascade is better for having you, Christy. I think Ben and I both agree and virtually high five when we say that we are better because of our spouses coming in and cleaning up our messes, if you will. But just helping organize our lives. That energy for sure. I think Cascade, Ben, is because of her that it is the way it is now, I can say that to be true with my life. Just being organized and being in the position we're in, is not to my credit. I may have been the energy and the voice for some things, but it's not me. So.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You think about the team that we have assembled, and I think one of the biggest reasons we've had the long-term stability and success is because we have very different skill sets.
Oh, yeah.
There's not very much duplication. A little bit on the development side, because, from a scale perspective, we want more than one person to do the thing. But these other roles, like I'd be an abject failure with the other functions that the other 5 people in this team, fulfill in this company. And so again, that's just the challenge for me, is making sure everyone feels propped up and supported and the love from that critical role they fill. Cause it's, I get to be the face, and I get to, sometimes be the tip of the spear with some wins and client interactions, but I have to remind clients left and right, the quicker you get me out of the way and work with the real pros, the better off you're going to be. So, grateful for all of that.
Yeah. I wouldn't change it. It's good. We're lucky. Fortunate. We're not lucky. We're fortunate.
Fortunate. That's a good way to put it. Well, I think that wraps it up. Yeah. I think I'm excited to hear, hopefully we can get some listeners, all you listeners that are out there, that get the privilege to work with their spouses. I want to hear some stories. It would be fun to kind of compare those stories on successes, failures, just lessons learned along the way. I think would be a lot of fun, because this is a dynamic that takes Cascade from just a business to a family, an extension said of the McKinley family. It definitely feels that way, and it's comfortable for those of us that, like Ben called me today, wants to be a lifer. Yeah, I do. I don't want to go anywhere else. We're good with that. So thank you, listeners. Thank you, Christy, for joining episode 9, WebWell podcast. If any listeners have questions or comments, please send them to WebWell at cascadewebdev.com. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you, guys.
Thanks to both of you.